Well, you'll be glad to hear that the Nationality Borders Act 2022 is finally enforced today. It's going to clamp down on offenders who claim to have been trafficked, making it harder to kick them out. This is a really interesting one. I actually used to work at the Home Office for a very, very brief period as a special advisor in government. Amber Rudd was the Home Secretary at that stage, and then, of course, she went off after Windrush. But modern slavery is a horrendous thing. It's an absolutely terrible thing where people are trafficked, they're made into modern slaves, and they are often told, come for a better life in the UK, and then they are asked to do horrendous things and not given money for it, and that is a tough thing for them. But what often happens is that when trying to get rid of people who are here illegally, who should not be here, often they'll get to the steps of the plane, be about to get on the plane to be repatriated to wherever it is they've come from, and they'll say, oh, I've been trafficked, I'm a modern slave. So the law clearly has to be tightened up here. Perhaps it has been tightened up here because the Nationality Borders Act 2022 comes into force. Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, says it can prevent certain foreign crooks and people who've made false claims from getting protection. Well, let us know what you think about this and anything Rod Little was talking about and anything you think we should be talking about. I will take as many calls as possible between now and 1 o'clock. The number to call is 0344 499 1000. You can text TALK to 87222. Be sure to put the word TALK in your text, or you can tweet me at TalkTV, or indeed follow me at Peter Cardwell. Well, let's talk to Rafe Heydel-Mankoo about this. He's a historian, broadcaster and Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. Rafe, you're very welcome to TalkTV this morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Good morning. Good to be with you.
How, is this going to make any difference, Rafe, do you think?
Well, look, anything that can help sort of combat this tidal wave of illegal immigration is welcome. But, it's just a little step in the right direction. It doesn't go nearly far enough. As you've said, only certain types of claimants are going to be eligible to be removed. Those who've committed serious crimes, say with a 12-month sentence.
I mean, they shouldn't be here anyway.
Yeah, that excludes a whole bunch of other people. And that's exactly the point that you made. They shouldn't be here in the first place. The biggest group of illegal immigrants who claim to be victims of modern slavery are Albanians. They make up actually over half of those claiming to be modern slaves. And coincidentally, Albanians are the single largest group of foreign prisoners in our prison system. Sweden has the correct solution here. Sweden's passed a law that says that if you come from a safe state, and indeed that is the case for Albania, you have no grounds to make a claim and you are returned to that safe state. We need to do the same thing. Sweden has a zero acceptance rate for asylum seekers from Albania, whereas we have an acceptance rate that's higher than any single country in Europe. We've made a laughingstock of ourselves when you compare our acceptance rates to elsewhere. And why is that? It's because, of course, those coming from Albania and elsewhere, they know all of this. They know that we are a light touch. The simple solution to all of this isn't rocket science. As a French politician said last year, all you have to do is make Britain less attractive than other European countries.
Well, Rishi Sunak would say that he's done that. He did come out with a big immigration plan just before Christmas, saying that he was going to stop all this happening and try to stop the boats. He also put it as one of his 5 main pledges as Prime Minister. Surely something will happen. Will things get better, do you think? What's your level of confidence in all of this, Rafe?
Well, we've had 12 years, or 10 years in name of a Tory government. I don't think in the last 18 months we can expect any miracle out of all of this. The Tories love to talk tough. We had Rwanda being hailed as this great solution. Of course, that works well. We've seen from polling that the Rwanda deal has actually had a positive impact on lots of voters thinking that things are being done. But once you realize the infinitesimally small number of people who will end up...
Well, it's only going to be 200 maximum. Yeah. They're only going to be single men, and not a single one has gone to Rwanda so far.
Exactly. This is, is a big smokescreen. The solution here also, I've said for years now, is simple. One of the advantages of having had an empire is we have a lot of British overseas territories around the world, some of which are sparsely populated. All we need to do is follow the Australian example, and instead of letting people arrive on our shores, pick them up when they're actually in the channel, and ship them off to one of these islands where you can build your processing and detention centres there. We don't need to do it in Rwanda. We have every capability of doing it ourselves. It was good enough for Napoleon to be on St. Helena, after all. And I don't know why there isn't enough impetus here for the far right of the Tory party to actually take this on board. I mean, they're going to face annihilation if they don't get this in hand.
Well, small boats and immigration is clearly something. It's in those 5 pledges. It's in what Rishi Sunak says that he can win on, or that he says are his priorities, and judge me in a year's time, have things changed. But all he's actually pledged to do is pass more legislation. This is a piece of legislation that's coming into force today. What do you think actually should happen? What do you think? I mean, you've given us some ideas, but what should, if any legislation is passed by Rishi Sunak in regard to small boats, what should his plan be?
Well, firstly, we have to opt out of the European Court of Human Rights, which has always hamstrung and tied the hands of successive governments. It's time that we address that issue. And the next thing, as I said, is to actually follow Sweden's example, and Denmark as well. Denmark's had this wonderful plan to basically make Denmark so unattractive that no one wants to go there. And the left-wing Prime Minister of Denmark has said that her goal is to have 0 asylum seekers coming to Denmark. Could you imagine a British politician saying that? What they've done in Denmark, if you arrive in Denmark, any assets you have over £1,000 are used for your upkeep and confiscated. And similarly, your benefits are now halved. So you get 50% of the benefits that Danish residents would be entitled to. These are ways, productive, constructive ways, and they work elsewhere. And the fact that there's no political impetus here, I think it's because our Tory party, of course, has ceased to be conservative, and they are seemingly caught in this mire of trying to be seen to be progressive at the same time that they are doing everything they can to stop themselves being re-elected.
We've had a number of people being very supportive of you, Rafe. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo is right. We are a laughingstock. It's sad but true, says one texter. I mean, there is a major international reputational issue here. You talk about Sweden having the right plan. And, I mean, Sweden isn't exactly the most tree-hugging, left-wing kind of place. It's got many aspects of socialism in terms of how it deals with the health system, the level of tax people pay, and so on. But this, to me anyway, seems to just come back to this idea that we're paying here in the UK the highest tax burden that we have for the last 70 years as a proportion of what the country makes. But at the same time, we're just not getting those public services, and we're having people coming here illegally, wrongly, people who shouldn't be here, who are using those public services and putting further pressure on them.
You're absolutely right. I mean, whether it be GP appointments, whether it be people going to A&E because they can't get a GP appointment, whether it be housing, whether it be school places, immigration, legal and illegal, is one of the major contributing factors to the problems that we face today. And we also know that illegal migrants particularly, but also illegal immigration, people coming in recent years are more likely to have health issues and more likely to use the NHS system. We simply can't cope with this. But there's also another issue here. You mentioned Sweden being this wonderful social democracy. All the research has shown that people in Scandinavia, for example, are very happy to pay high taxes.
If they get good public services, yeah.
But also because the people that they're supporting are like them.
Right,
the more migration that comes into a country, the less people feel that they want to support other people.
That's interesting.
As a result of that, you're getting a breakdown of Scandinavia's wonderful social cohesion as a result of that. So it's a very complicated issue that affects more than just public services. It goes to the very heart of what we are as a nation.
Rafe, you talk a lot of sense, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you this morning. It's Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, who has been speaking to us. He's a historian, broadcaster and Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum.